Dragon Caffi is a light-hearted indie game developed by House Game Studio. This game can be described as an isometric adventure game that focuses on helping villagers and cooking dishes. In this video, I discuss basic aspects of the game and how it's experienced on the Nintendo Switch. Feel free to subscribe to my channel, I review new games every week. I received a review copy of this game, and with that said, let's check out Dragon Caffi. This game is about food and friendship, but revolves around Margot. With a magic cooking pot and cookbook, her mission is to discover the joy of cooking for others and help people with their chores. I had a hard time finding a common thread in the story, but the game consists of lots of mini-stories attached to each character. Every time you meet an interactable NPC, their personal problems are explained, and then Margot has to help. Assignments usually have a light-hearted tone. The design of the game is to find and talk to different inhabitants. Sometimes they give you an assignment. If it's completed, you will be rewarded with a recipe. If you make the recipe and give the food to the same person you got the recipe from, you will receive a token. If you complete enough missions and receive a certain number of tokens, you can unlock new zones. So, some areas are locked until you're ready to move on. Each area has a certain number of missions, so sometimes you have to complete most of them to collect enough tokens. The game idea is relatively easy to understand, but this is not necessarily a simple game. For example, you have to get ingredients for the dishes. Some ingredients are difficult to obtain, sometimes they are not available until you get further into the game. It's also important to be organized. The further you go, the more recipes you get. Therefore, one must make sure to have enough resources. You also have to keep track of what each character eats. It's like creating a budget. You need a certain number of each ingredient. For me, I had to think about what to buy and plan the meals well. The game gradually becomes more difficult the more areas you open up. In the beginning, the villagers ask if you can help with things that are easy to solve. I saw myself not having to spend too much time before the assignments were completed. The missions are fairly streamlined. Go to point A, pick up something, submit, and the quest is complete. Here you have to help Mr. Beasley, who has been the victim of theft. The horrid some bushes have stolen the hands to the town clock. Easy to solve by walking around and bash some blue creatures, but the game gets trickier and harder the further you get. Suddenly I have to help Rosalind find spare parts for a car. And yeah, I found them, but with a twist. That creature, Norbert, demands 1000 Groots for a wheel. Groots acts as a currency in this game, which is obtained by smashing bushes. At least that's the only way I know how to earn Groots. Until I discovered an alternative method. It's possible to sell items in the store. I sold some falling star fragments and got rich pretty quickly. If you want to save hours, just go to the store and sell some items. It works. You need quite a lot of money. Above all, it's expensive to move your house and buy maps. Each map costs 1000 Groots, so it's important to save money, farm and sell. And they can prove to be a wise investment. It's an extensive game where you move over large areas. There is a risk of getting lost. As far as I know, there is no universal map, but you have to buy one for each area. In addition to being relatively pricey, they may be necessary. They show points of interest and where different paths lead. Important buildings can be, for example, shops, which are visited in between. So even though the maps are expensive, I decided to spend capital and buy. They have been used quite frequently, and it makes it easier to find the right place or path. I think it's the right decision by the developers to implement a map system given the broad scope of the game. The graphics are experienced from an isometric perspective. The developers have made sure to create a colorful world with strong contours. Although the game has a cartoonish style with imaginative characters and well-furnished environments, I wish some places had more details. The grass is green, the water is blue, and the path is grey. Yeah, I do think it gives a sterile impression, but it's well hidden by a world bursting with life and dense environments. The control is perfectly okay. Margot can be rotated 360 degrees and she can walk and run. The difference is noticeable, just look at this. To cut down bushes, you use your landle. It doesn't feel as comfortable. I perceive it as if there is a small delay every time you swing it, but most of the time you just cut down bushes, so it doesn't matter much. You can also use a number of different spells. They are needed, for example, to complete certain quests. By pressing X, you activate a spell, and they generally work well, but at one point I was going to water a flower with the water spell. Unfortunately, it seemed like the quest was bugged. I have been in contact with the game developers who take the situation seriously seriously, and it will probably be resolved by release. Dragon Caffi is an indie game that is very comprehensive, mainly because of all the detailed worlds, lots of missions, and all the recipes that can be prepared. All worlds have their unique style, but sometimes they feel a little boring to look at, as if some parts lack details. For example, the grass. The missions are varied and also include some minigames. Above all, a varied gameplay makes the game entertaining. The duration of the game is approximately 25 hours, and it can be played at any age. I recommend this game if you like cute games with a lot of content. Feel free to subscribe to my channel. I review new games every week. Have a nice day. See you.